Cheers, everybody, and welcome to episode 47 of your favorite late night Friday night hashcast. It is Variables, and we are your hosts, Frigoli, Pedro, and Superior Buds. You can find us streaming every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and where at it, guys? YouTube, X, Twitch, wherever the hell you're getting your damn podcasts after the show, Spotify, and all that good stuff. How are we doing tonight?
Cheers, everybody.
I just got alcohol on a cut on my finger.
Oh, that's a good way to clean it.
Let you know you're alive.
Good way to find the cuts when you're washing your rigs.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I'll tell you what, sometimes my if I'm wearing my wedding ring, I'll get a little, slice in the nitrile glove there, and all of a sudden I start feeling some weird cooling, burning sensation on the inside of my gloves, and it's like, oh, there's the rip.
What gloves do you wear?
I actually buy the Kirkland brand gloves. Shout out Winewood Organics for showing me that one. Yeah, so I used to on them. Couldn't tell you. We'll have to look it up. I just know that they work, and for the price, they seem to be the best value. I know that the price has come down a couple dollars since a year or two ago when all of that stuff got very expensive in the pandemic. The reason I changed originally is I was, no joke, buying 100 gloves for, I believe, like $2.99 at a semi-local restaurant supply store. And I would stock up on these gloves because they were plenty thick for what I needed. And, I'm dealing with everything from, sub-freezing, subcritical cold temperatures to, terpenes and, hydrocarbons and
stuff you don't want on your skin.
Yeah, just all that stuff, right? Just trying to avoid it. So I try to get a thick enough glove to protect me and not rip easily, but I also want to get something that's not going to break the bank, right? So these restaurant gloves, if you want to call them that, or supply of gloves, were a great source. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. They just completely went out of stock, didn't have stock for months and months and months. And by the time they did come back, the price was 3 or 4 times the amount. So I looked for an alternative and did a tour over at Winewood Organics, and I just see this giant shelf full of Kirkland brand gloves, and I never even thought to look there. And I don't know what they're costing nowadays, but they've been in between like 18 and 22, 23 bucks or something for, I assume, 200 gloves, a few different sizes, and they work pretty well.
Send me a link. I'll take a look at them. I use these Ravens over here. What are they, 7 mil, 5 mil, 7 mils? Yeah, 7 mil. I've locked onto them. I've always used them. I've never really looked for a replacement because they work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they're not breaking the bank, they work. It's what it is.
I like these because they're so thick. When you're working with rosin, there's a lot of times when you're manipulating the rosin with your hand, collecting whatever you're trying to do, and it sticks to your gloves a lot of times, depending on the temperatures and whatnot. We've actually had the cheaper gloves rip and leave glove material, I guess, in the rosin, so I don't know, just locked onto these.
I left the whole thumb in the rosin before when trying to manipulate it, and then you can't peel that shit out.
No,
you're taking half a gram with it. But I did the same thing. I started with the cheap blue ones because they're plentiful, and same exact problem, ripping them or not realizing that you got to take the ring off. Mine's got sharp little points on it. Those little princess cuts like to cut into things, and those gloves aren't happy with it. But those Ravens are nice because if it's like wintertime and I have the garage open and it's negative balls cold in the garage, I will wear actual mittens and then the gloves over top of it.
Yeah, that's my trick for my smoker, man. You put the big ass grill gloves on and then throw some nitriles on top of it, and you can actually handle the meat, you know what I mean, without burning the shit out of your hands. Works both ways though, whether it's cold or hot, I guess.
Yep. But yeah, the Ravens do help a lot more. The thickness helps prevent that heat transfer from your hands. It's so much easier. Like those cheap ones I felt like the rosin got too gooey too quick when you manipulating it versus the thicker ones really help.
that makes sense. You know, if you got a thicker insulator, right? I used to buy the Home Depot ones when they were affordable, and they were they're like the double layer ones, so they're black on the outside and orange on the inside. It's literally like two one.
Those things are expensive, and those are fucking thick, dude. I know
those are like
which ones you're
16, 17 cents a glove now.
Yeah,
they used
I know
to be,
exactly which ones you're talking about.
Like 5-6 cents or something like that.
They're good. They're good gloves. Sometimes, honestly, if you're not in cold enough temperatures, they get a little fucking warm, man. They're thick ass gloves.
Yeah. So I'm dabbing on some BHO.
Shit. Man, that was an interesting. I've honestly been saving that one for a while. I mean, you guys have seen these let's start a conversation pokes. I guess we can call them pokes. And they're honestly really good. Some of them are a little misunderstood. Some of them get a little abrasive. That's why I've actually started putting in there, you know, let's try to at least keep it fucking I guess, I don't know, respectable, you know. But this last one was pretty good. A lot of these were good. The Rosin is Hash. Rosin is Hash got a lot of love. I think over 500 some freaking comments. The one, like I said, some of them are being misunderstood. Some of them are the entertainment value, especially in the one today. Like,
yes,
it's going a little nuts. And I went back to look a little while ago just to see, and I noticed that the majority of the comments are responses to each other on like one comment or two. Well, there's actually two that I realized, threads that are going where people are just beating the fuck out of each other.
So I would love to go through these. Like you said, you've been posing a lot of these questions on your Instagram, and it's generated quite a bit of discussion. This one's got maybe 250 or so comments. Some of them have over 500. And certainly this is, like you said, one of the ones that has, in my opinion, been one of the most entertaining. I would like to let's start at the base level though. And I want to take this slow, because the question you asked, I don't think, like you mentioned, was understood by most of the commenters here. And like Jen Doe says here, who was a guest.
How so?
I'll get there. I'm getting
okay.
Just like Jen Doe says here, who was a guest on the podcast recently, I'm just here for the entertainment. That's where it ended up going for me, but it didn't. That's not where it started. So you asked the question, how do you tell the difference between good rosin and good BHO?
Correct.
So
it's actually been asked to me quite a bit of times in private chats, and so I made it a note because I thought it was a great question. Let's ask it.
I think it is too. I just think that it is incredibly misunderstood.
How so?
Because
I'm interested to know.
When you ask the question, how do you tell the difference between good rosin and BHO? We're not asking what the difference between rosin and BHO is. We're talking about, let's take the top shelf rosin and the top shelf BHO, and let's you didn't even say the same strain or anything, but how do you tell the difference between them? And you didn't say how could you tell the difference is rosin or this one is BHO. You just said, how can you tell the difference between a top of the line rosin and we'll just go with that example, a top of the line BHO, right?
Yep, that's exactly what I meant.
Right off the bat, the first 7 comments were the nose, the smell, it was really all about the smell, right?
Right.
And it's, to me, that shouldn't be a difference. If it's top of the line rosin and top of the line BHO, you shouldn't be able to tell a difference in smell to start, right?
Yeah, I'll say that with top of the line rosin and top of the line BHO, like you said, the terpene content should be elevated, should be relatively high. There are some BHO manufacturers, i.e. for Growly, where the terpene content is a little higher. So it can be a little more pungent, but for the most part, dude, if you're talking about good rosin, top shelf BHO, you want my answer?
Sure.
it's a little convoluted or diluted, if you will, because I think it needs to be. Number one, I've always told people it takes a trained eye. You know, I've been doing this for a long freaking time, and it really takes a trained eye in that sometimes I can't even fucking tell the difference. You know, if you followed up and watched the stories that I posted one from Terposaurus Rex, and I tried to kind of get rosin and BHO makers. I hate saying BHO makers, but I tried to get, you know, the both so I could get a wider variety of
responses.
Of response. Yeah, exactly. But
you say it takes a trained eye, but you're still not telling me how do you tell the difference? That's just it. Experience.
Because I've even tried to put it into words. And how do you fucking put a consistency into words? How do you put a certain smell into words?
Pedro, here's the thing, and I will challenge you to the end of the planet on this smell thing, and we're going to get to that with the comments, but because I think there's a lot of ignorant comments in your fucking thread on this post here, but a trained eye, yes, I think probably 95%, maybe plus out of the the time, someone that regularly processes one or the other or both, or has an extreme amount of experience with both, is going to be able to tell it. Probably, nine times out of 10, 95 out of 100, whatever you want to call it, somewhere around that range. I will say, and we've talked about it before, the Cobra milk I have, when I whip it into a batter, it tricks everyone. I have so many people asking me why I got this one solventless product. Is that solventless? And it's like, no, man, it's just a consistency thing. It's the way the plant does it. It's nothing I'm doing different from the clementine or anything else. It's just the way it whips up, right? But it looks like rosin every time, and it gets everyone every single time, unless they've had it before.
And not super interrupt you, but that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, you just can't fucking tell sometimes. So to put something into words, like to put a difference into words that really doesn't fucking exist. It's like, how do you vocalize that? You know, like the post I posted in my story with Terpene, you can't fucking tell when, like you said, when you whip your fucking Cobra milk, you can't fucking tell. So.
And I'm going to give some qualifications here for BHO, and I would love you guys to give me some qualifications here for good rosin or top shelf, like we're talking about, if we want to compare the two, right? I'm thinking that some of the best processed BHO is going to come from fresh frozen, not from cured material, not from trim. It's going to be fresh frozen nugs. I'm thinking that it's going to be taken full term, not taken early or anything like that, not taken too late. You know, my preference is in that 1% to 2% amber range, but everyone's got their own preference. But I will just say it's not being taken early. I think top shelf BHO is probably not made with a single solvent, but I don't know if that matters too much here. I just think that's another way of, another one of those, not what's the inverse of cutting a corner, just like taking an extra step to, make it better. It's distilled solvents, before you even expose your material to them. It's running super cold temperatures, so you can de-wax. It's getting nearly, if not all of the residual solvent out of it. And ultimately it's a juicy, terpy representation of the essence of the plant when you harvested it. I think that's what qualifies as good or top shelf BHO. And I will also say,
but hang on,
hold on. No. I will say that CRC is not a part of the equation. So there was some talk about CRC in the thread. That's not. There's no BHO can be good with CRC. Put it that way.
So in my opinion, you explained, how do I want to word it? How to process to that side of the difference of good rosin and good BHO. But what I was asking more specifically is, as a consumer, 2 jars in fucking front of you, you're not sure. How do you tell?
No, I understand the question. Okay. I'm just saying what qualifies as part of this question, good BHO. That's what, as a professional, as an expert, as someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to BHO, I think that's what qualifies a good BHO. I want you guys to tell me what qualifies as good rosin, just so we can get there in terms of answering the question. This is just like step 2 of the 30 steps. You know what I mean?
You want to take it, Budgie?
it's I think it's the same thing that you're looking for. It's high terpene content, proper consistency. So for us, everyone's going to have a different opinion, right? Of fresh frozen versus half dry versus we get into this all the time. That's a personal preference thing. Pedro and I have different preferences, but that's one thing where like we half dry. That's just what works for both of us. But for me, it's going to be the proper color and I don't know a better word for it, but the consistency that gives me easy dabs. I don't want crumbly. I don't want shattery. I don't want pure liquid.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of give. You want some batter that can stick to your tool, and
some
that's why
Play-Doh
I migrated towards the cold cure, because that's what gives me my consistency that I prefer.
So that sounds to me more like a preference thing, though. You did mention the terps and the color and consistency seems to be the three things, but I mean, even on the BHO side, you can have top shelf BHO that's still diamonds and saucer or whatever you want to call it, and you could have top shelf BHO that's a better consistency. It's more on the consumer's preference on which consistency they want. It could be the same strain, it could be the same process, etc. Till that point, what makes good rosin, though? Is it?
Well, I think it's
talk
the
about
same,
the half dry.
I think that the answer is what makes good concentrate. I think they're both. We're looking for the same thing. We're looking for a good high and high terpenes.
Okay, so it's effects and flavor essentially is what makes a good rosin.
I mean, that's what makes a good concentrate, isn't it? Like, what else would you be looking
to me, well, again, personal preference wise, to me, flavor is number one. I think it should be to everybody, but sometimes effects are more important to people, and I think that's completely.
I'm definitely a flavor guy. If I get gassy, it's going to the back. It's not my favorite. I'm going to stick to the fruity stuff. That's a preference thing, though, right? And the same with the consistency. It's a preference thing. But like comparing the two, how would I compare them? I mean, the majority, from my experience and what I've seen, color and consistency is going to be the first thing I look at. But like you said, you've got the outliers. You've got the ones that are going to fool you, and you're going to, and thinking it through, I don't know what I would do if I can't smell any residual solvents. That doesn't give me a clue. If I can't look at the consistency, that gives me a clue. If you've got a good golden color that looks like it's been homogenized, we
gotta get to some of these comments because you brought up another one.
Hang on, let me take this. Sorry, let me take this really quick. I was waiting for my little piece here. So what creates good rosin from a processing standpoint, in my opinion? Anymore, honestly, I think that fresh frozen is probably going to give you the best representation of the plant. Although I do know that you can process half dry, which I usually do, and we'll get to that in a second here. Or you can process dry material, and processing correctly, you can get, well, and I guess the dry material has to be stored correctly to get variables, right? But going back to the cold cure or to the cold fresh frozen processing, you really have to have the ability to process it, I guess, for lack of a better word. You need to be able to handle it. You need to have a cold room. You need to be able to transport that cold material, that frozen material, from a freezer to your washroom and not have it start defrosting, not have it start sticking together. Because the minute that you have fresh frozen material that starts to defrost, thaw, it gets ridiculously sticky, and your yield percentage is going to go down. So cold processing is very important. Anymore, like I said, I think fresh frozen is probably going to give you the best representation of the plant, although I still do the half dry. It works for me, and honestly, minimal difference, negligible. Very easy agitation. There's some people who really want to beat the plant up just to make sure that they get the yield right, and I understand that. But I think that there's a time in the process to beat the plant up, and there's a time in the process to pull your premium material. Also, there is a window of trichome heads sizes that we can pull to give us the highest percentage of heads, of glandular heads, trichomes, which are going to be the most, potentially the highest terpene, highest cannabinoid content. And that can differ between different cultivars. Just for example, I had a fat head critical kush a couple of years ago that was 160 to 190. That was fucking gorgeous. Outdoor grown, with obvious, obvious to growers and processors, I guess. So those are the things that I think. I guess another one that goes hand in hand with the easy processing. Call it easy processing. I want to call it. I can't think of the word. Anyways, the less stalks you have in your collection, in your heads, i.e., walking down the road of full melt, is also going to give you the less waffles, the less waxes, fats, and lipids, and is going to get you the more cannabinoid, higher terpene content oil.
Rinsing the shit out of your bags. Mm-hmm. You can be a lot more aggressive in the bags than most people realize. Frenchie showed that in one of his early videos.
For sure. So that's what I think would create on a processing side a good rosin, a top shelf rosin, and it takes an eye to navigate those variables.
Mm-hmm. It does sound like the three of us are ultimately saying fire in, fire out, if you want to put it in a very simplistic term, right?
I can't disagree with that.
And you are going to get different results in the end because they are different processes. I do think, personally, I think one's a mechanical process and one's a chemical process. But excluding things like CRC, because that doesn't make good BHO. I do want to get to these comments because one of the things that was brought up immediately and was talked about thoroughly was the smell. And I'm not sure the best way to go through this because I don't want to jump around too much.
No, right? There's so many effing comments.
maybe we just need to take it like one comment at a time or so, right. Instead of, because some of these topics are going to come up.
Let me cross one off and you can address it here right after, because I'm going to hand it to you. But let me cross off a big one. I think it goes hand in hand. It was the taste and the smell of residual solvents is exactly what they were talking about. So take that.
I think most people don't know what the fuck they're smelling. And I think that if you have a distilled solvent, you can't smell it and you can't taste it. So even if I have 15 ppms of residual solvents or 1,500 ppms of residual solvents, which, surprise, I don't, you're not going to be able to taste it or smell it because you can't taste or smell a distilled solvent. It's not like the butane you guys are getting from your gas grill tanks, people, that they have additives in to make sure you don't blow yourselves up because I can smell that butane coming out. Maybe I shouldn't light this thing right now.
Yeah, that's
that's same with the natural gas that comes to your house. There's an additive in there so you don't blow your whole house up when you turn on your freaking stove inside while you can smell it. Okay, but a distilled solvent, and again, this is one of the qualifications of good BHO, a distilled solvent, you cannot taste or smell. So every single one of these comments that says something about being able to smell the chemicals or smell the solvents, they're either smoking bad BHO, which doesn't qualify for this question, or they don't know what they're talking about.
I think also a lot of what leads up to a lot of these comments, and I think it was actually addressed quite a few times, sometimes a little more abrasive than others, is that, and I think you've even addressed this before, unfortunately, there is a lack of good BHO out on the market. So a lot of the people that are commenting, all they've smoked is bad BHO or decent rosin.
It's that signal to noise ratio. It's out there, but there's so much bad that it's overshadowed.
And I would argue that mids rosin is better than bad BHO.
Yeah. I've said this for a long time. I think there's a curve, right? I think the BHO curve, bell curve, is wider, right? So you've got a lot of more garbage at the end. But I do think because of the curve like rosin is like this, that you can actually get better BHO than you can rosin. I think that the chemical process is superior in that way. But I think it also lends to having much worse products on the market as well, because it is more efficient. And well, when it comes to commercial and making money, they don't really care about the taste and smell in the end. They just care about the dollar. And so if they can sell more of them at cheaper, they don't give a shit about you guys.
I don't know if it's a pure bell though. I think you're probably
no,
a little higher at the back and that good
it's
side.
wider at the yeah. I agree.
And like I guess what I was getting at is the majority of the comments here, I would say the majority of them are that mids and bad. That's all they've had. They've never had the top shelf of the both of them. They've probably, because of access and fucking money, I mean the economy fucking obviously, right? So their access is either mids rosin or bad BHO, and when you put those two side by side, you get these comments.
Yeah, that might be the case here. We might have to clip that. All right, so someone mark it. How far? We're 30 minutes in. All right, so yeah, good BHO should not be CRC scrub. You can tell when all the jars smell the same. Yeah, that's,
what is CRC for us uneducated people out there? What is CRC? What does CRC stand for? And what is
chemical remediate? So CRC is chemical remediation column.
So it's not the color remediation chamber that everybody says.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Chamber
color remediation as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what I said? Color remediation.
You said chemical at first, said it first, or color.
It can do both, I guess, technically speaking. So basically what it is it's a mini version of your materials chamber, and your materials chamber is just a giant stainless steel enclosed vessel, right? And this is like a smaller one that would go next to it or after it. And after you run your solvent through your materials column, it then goes to this CRC, color remediation chamber column, chemical remediation column chamber. I don't know, there's probably a few different words for it, but CRC originally I think it was used for color, because you get this often milky white, kind of it really did a few years ago take the market by storm, because we used to say you couldn't polish a turd, and then this kind of CRC thing came about, and you could kind of actually polish a turd and make it look better. The thing is, a trained nose knows, and you can't make it smell better without adding fake terps. And while that is happening, that's again not considered good BHO. So one of the things it can do in addition to removing color is actually it can remove some of the bad stuff that can get into our plants, right? And those bad stuff are often added by the growers themselves. So think pesticides, right? There's actually we'll call it a clay layer that you can use, that you run your extracted solvent through. I guess it's really still pretty solventy at that point, and you're going to run it through this clay, and it's going to remediate some of the things in that solvent solution. And one of the things they can kind of focus on is the pesticides, certain pesticides. So it actually, it has its uses, and it's kind of cool that you can do that, right? But at the same time, maybe just grow better material. You know what I mean? Again, we're just trying to polish a turd. It's like, it's cool that we can, remediate these things, but at the same time, we shouldn't have to in the first place.
Just do it right the first time.
Right. And so I don't know, in my opinion, any use of CRC is lending to the not good BHO. And so, yeah, that's kind of what my basic, I've never done CRC, even in the commercial operations I've ran. I basically bypassed the CRC column, just disconnected it and ran it right past it, because I said, we're not doing this. And yeah, I mean, it has its uses, but not in a good BHO lab scenario.
I kind of want to walk down this fake terps road for a minute.
Sure. I mean, you can. I would say it doesn't qualify for either good rosin or good BHO.
No, hell no. No, it doesn't even fit the fucking conversation. But it makes me think of one. Right. It just makes me think of something that I've been kind of looking at and playing with lately. And fake terps. That fake terps is definitely a no. Fuck yeah, fake terps. Fuck that. However, if you can, what's the word? Recollect. If you can collect your terpenes. So here's what we're doing. I don't even care. I don't fucking let it out the bag. We're freeze drying our hash, and there is a lot of monoterps that are being boiled
sublimated or evaporated,
exactly. And they're being collected in the ice. So when the ice melts, man, it's good fucking water to drink. I'll tell you that.
Terpene fraction.
Yeah, right. But then what you can do there is you can separate them and you can get a terpene fraction. And now that is a recollected terpene, no chemicals at all. Is adding that back in a no?
Absolutely not, because it's still part of that original source material and it would have been lost otherwise. So you're actually doing the consumer a favor by taking that extra step to capture the essence of the plant, which you otherwise would have lost. I think not doing that is actually a degradation of your extract, because you're losing, I mean, how much? What percentage of your terpenes are getting lost? You know, I don't expect you to have that answer, but like, you know, is it 1%? Is it 5%? Is it 10% of your terpenes, you know?
If I had to guess, I would guess it was somewhere in the 0.5 to 0.75% range.
I was going to say it's got to be less than 1%.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, no, it's not a lot. If you look at the low temp video when they first talked about this, I mean, gosh, has it been maybe a year by now? They had a full freeze dryer,
I guess they did bring it up a long time ago, didn't they?
Yeah, it's been a while now, but they ran a full freeze dryer, and you know they're pulling a small layer of terpenes off the freeze. You know, it's not nothing, but at some point, someone has to figure out, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? You know, like, is it really? I make sacrifices in my own setup all the time because it's personal. I'm not shooting for, you know, high super. I don't need super weed. I need my weed. So if I'm going to lose, you know, 5% on the yield, but I'm going to gain not having to spend an hour every day in the grow, I'm going to do that.
You're right.
So
yeah, it's a certain level of work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little give and take here and there, you know.
There's people
it is
who
a
want
neat process though. Like when we first saw that, it was fucking cool. And you know, you can smell it. Like, even have you looked at like your wash water? I mean, that's so much more water though to do, but because you know our wash water smells so good too. But then you've got contaminant.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know how you would isolate the terpenes in such a mass of water.
You'd have to distill them off.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but then I mean, obviously you'd have to collect that. I mean, that would be a ridiculous, probably. So here's what we're looking at. What I was going to say is, like, for the home grower, if they wanted to, this is for the home grower. If they wanted to, fuck yeah, go play with it. You know, especially the recollection from the, I can't think of the goddamn word I want. From the freeze dryer. Fuck yeah, go play with it. Absolutely, pretty cheap, pretty easy, not a hell of a lot of labor. But when you're talking about scaling that up, I think we talked about this last week or the week before as well. When you talk about scaling it up to a commercial market, it's like he said, is it worth the extra work? You know, and maybe yes, maybe no, but
yeah, someone's got to do the math, right? I tell my business partner this all the time. You know, he'll ask me to do something. I'm like, well, you know, make the account and go run the numbers. Like, I can't tell you if it's going to make sense. I can tell you how long it's going to take me to do it, how long my team's going to spend on it. You tell me if a quarter per order makes sense. You know?
Yeah, they got to get the ROI. Okay, let's get to these comments, guys, because I love this one.
Yeah.
No such thing as good BHO, says
let me note real quick that and if there is a reason that you guys think, by all means, bring it up. But I noticed, and I think it's fucking obvious, that there's a vastly more positive comments about RSO than there is BHO in this.
You mean rosin?
Yes. Why did I say RSO?
Probably because you took some rosin caps before the show again.
That might maybe.
We're trying to make up new acronyms.
RSO.
Right? Yeah, let's fucking
Rosin,
make this more
solvent
confusing,
list.
right? Yeah, no.
Shit.
Yeah.
No, of course. But here, this is the thing, man. You posted it, and it's I think you are one of the leaders in the industry when it comes to good rosin, top shelf rosin. So I think you have a lot of respect and a lot of following for that. Also, that is the trend of the market right now, and I think for many reasons, well, I'll give you two reasons. I think a big part of it is ignorance, which I think we see in these comments, and I think the other part of it is the lack of good BHO on the market. If you don't have something to compare it to, I mean, that's all you're ever going to know.
I would add history as well, because there's a lot of people, and I was in this camp where we tried BHO early, and it was horrible, and it hurt, and it's like, but we did it because what we had, and now there was a bad taste in my mouth, and for years I stayed away. I would never try the good stuff, because until you and I hooked up, right? Like, I don't even know, Cannabis Cup 8 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. And that was the first time I had good BHO. And up until then, I mean, I was flower rosin. You know, and
how much of that you see nowadays, you know?
Right, exactly. Now it's like flower rosin's looked down on, but for me, where I was at the time, I was flower rosin over BHO, just from history.
I'm about to run up to Denver here and grab my mini Osprey that I secured this last week.
Nice.
And I'm gonna try to hook up with Terposaurus Rex. As far as I'm concerned, man, some of the best looking fucking BHO on the market, and I am super eager to fucking try it. Very, very eager. Man, you should clip that, shouldn't you?
Eager beaver over here. I want to read this comment because this is one of the later posted comments, if you will. So maybe this person has some perspective after reading the thread too. Frosty McDougall says, I think one of the things that this comment thread illustrates most clearly is how many folks have never had good BHO, which is kind of depressing. One of the coolest things about cannabis is the variety of forms it can be enjoyed in. And there are a lot of great cuts that don't wash, but still extract well with solvents.
I will absolutely agree with that.
Spot on.
Absolutely. When I saw this comment, I was like,
someone's thinking clearly.
I try to keep out of the comments, especially on these big ones, because A, I just try to keep out of them, and B, sometimes I can't control myself. So
this is good. What a better way to educate than through a taste test.
What do they mean by that? I'm going to have to blow up my fucking screen so I can see this a little closer.
Oh, they said this thread is wild. You know, and it's just, I think
it was a wild thread. It was definitely a wild thread. There was a Hash Fights was a good one, I believe, here.
Yeah, Hash Fights. Well, I guess Michael Johnson was responding to Hash Fights saying, sounds like some education needs to be spread. And that's when Hash Fights came back and said, what a better way to educate than through a taste test. I think that's pretty spot on, because then you get to smell it, you get to taste it, and then you feel the effects of it. What is more important than those three things, other than knowing it's a clean product, right?
I think what probably would need to be done in that case, if we're gonna do that taste test, that Pepsi challenge type shit, is it needs to be, you need to try it like that. You need to put your balls on a line and try it, and not be afraid to be fucking wrong, number one.
Yeah.
And then be educated, be informed which one was which, and then perhaps go back in. I mean, that would take some, we're having a fucking sesh, but then perhaps go back in on each one of them, so you can, this is the only way we're going to fucking learn, is to be humble and enough to say, I don't know, let's fucking figure it out.
Sometimes you got to swallow the humble pie. That's for sure,
absolutely.
Man. And I think these next couple posters might have, because look at this, 53 and 56 comments on these.
That was crazy, right?
Let's just blow these.
I didn't have time to read them all. I got with the daughter this weekend, so I didn't have time to read them all.
So this one starts off with, "Wait, you guys are still smoking BHO?" And this is the comment I posted to my actual like story from OTSCC. It says, "Yeah, we like terps and aren't arrogant enough to think one way is better than the other," because that's where a lot of these comments feel that they're coming from either ignorance or arrogance. Because it just doesn't make sense to me. If you know what good BHO is, you wouldn't be saying these things. Some of these things.
It's just, again, just to, talk as we're going here, it's just the fucking access, it's just the fucking access.
But how much good rosin out there? I mean, okay, hold on, because we talked about how most of the market is bad BHO or mids rosin. How much actual good rosin is out there?
I don't know.
I know there's not a lot of good BHO.
I don't know.
It's very hard to come by. Okay.
I wish
in Michigan, there's not a lot of good rosin.
I agree. That's why I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, you can. We have one large processor who we've talked about before that has a good quality lab and puts out an above average product. They're not top shelf. Then we have our general processors that are in all the dispense. So, there's 2 or 3 in, like, I don't know, in my area at least. But you're paying a premium for those still. Those are the ones that are still netting a premium. That's one of the few products on our shelves that are, but small batch. That's why.
You think it mostly comes down to that?
I think that's why their name is why they're able to still pull their branding.
Boy, I know some doing that for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't say that I don't ride that wave a little bit myself, to be honest. So
yeah, it's excuse me. I mean, when you've got as much competition as there is in our market and the prices have fallen so fast, in order, there's some process, like I said before, I mean, I couldn't make the economics work. So
right.
Those processors have had to keep the prices in order to stay afloat. So for them, it's a matter of survival, but also it's their brand. They're a premium product. They want to sit at a premium price point.
And the problem is when you start talking about the premium product, you're, again, I'm speaking solventless, if you're doing the premium product, you're isolating the heads so much that your yield now, you may have a 5%er overall, right? But your fucking heady may only be that 1%. So, now you're really working some different numbers. And what do you guys, I kind of want to know, do you want to walk down these comments? Let's walk.
I do.
Going back to that real quick, Pedro, though, too, one of the things that we forget about sometimes is you need to get multiple SKUs when you're in commercial like that. One wash can get you multiple SKUs. So that heady stash, the mid stash, your edible stash. So it does make the numbers complex because you never know what those ratios are going to be.
That's true too.
And then marketing and packaging.
Or fucking variables.
Marketing, packaging, distribution. It's just fuck, dude.
Yeah, price point
labeling.
And ROI on each vertical is different. You have different bill of materials for each one. Do you have a cartridge cost? Do you have a jar cost? Do you have baked goods cost?
How many inputs, right?
It's not a lot.
So this one is interesting to me, and I kind of want you guys' opinion on this because I haven't really seen this opinion much, if at all. Rob the Lobsterman says they're related. They're both poisonous. Full melt only.
This fucking octopus guy. I don't know what to think about this dude. I think this was 90% troll.
It seems like he just kind of dropped that mic and trolled his way under the bridge.
It got stranger and stranger as it went. I don't know how I can maybe I can see I saw some comments about the parchment paper.
Yeah.
And there's basically his comment was parchment paper and then chemicals. That was his claim, you know. Yeah, there's the octopus. He's underneath the I don't know. That comment was just that was
the
after
one
a really
I expanded, and as I was scrolling through, Instagram did its like infinite scroll, so you get like the same 20 comments over and over and over. And I'm like, what is happening? It took me a minute to realize what the fuck I was reading because he was confusing and then Instagram was confusing.
So I really don't know what to get out of that, except number one, dude was, and I think his only gripe there was potentially the residual chemicals that wouldn't be present in full melt, and some problem with the pressing of the parchment paper that wouldn't be then present in the full melt. I think that was what he was getting at.
He better be talking about like full melt sift and not something that's been washed with a solvent, aka water, and then ran through some sort of plastic bag. And you know,
there it is. We gotta talk about it because you said it. So solventless. So I'm of the. Do I agree that solvent or that water is the original solvent? Fuck yeah, of course it is. Do I agree that water dissolves most, if not fucking pretty close to everything? Fuck yeah. Do I know and believe that some terpenes are dissolved in water? Well, obviously, we were just talking about fucking recollecting the fucking terpenes that were dissolved into the water, right? So absolutely. If I think, I think, check this out. If I was going to walk down, this is very interesting, actually. And boy, this is fucking cool. If I was going to walk down the road of reintroducing terpenes out of a freeze dryer, I am then using a solvent, and it is no longer a solventless product. However, if I'm not utilizing those terpenes, it is a solventless product because I am not utilizing
water as a solvent.
Yeah, I'm there. Thank you.
Yeah,
that is my thought.
That's exactly it. And I have another theory, and I don't know that this is correct, but we're talking about the terpenes that are in the water, right? Are those terpenes actually dissolved from the trichomes, or are they collected from ruptured trichomes during the wash?
I'm guessing busted heads, honestly.
I think they're busted heads. I don't think you're actually solvent dissolving anything.
Yeah, I think it would have been lost regardless. And I think I said this earlier, but I think water is a solvent, like you're saying. But yeah, it just aids in the mechanical process. It's not a dissolving like a chemical process like you would with a hydrocarbon.
It is a solvent, but we're not using it.
But I mean, that is interesting. If we then are using those recollected fucking terpenes, we did utilize the fucking solvent.
Well, then those terpenes aren't solventless. So then if you're reintroducing those terpenes into your solventless product, is no longer a solventless product.
Exactly. I know. Now you got solvent. How do you call that? Let's call that.
If the terpenes are not originating from a solvent process, they're originating because of busted heads. You're using the water as a transport mechanism, not a solvent.
Maybe potentially.
Solvent means you used it to dissolve something.
Yeah, we would need to know, however the hell we would fucking know.
It's a byproduct either way.
Whether or not the terpenes were actually dissolved or if they were carried in the water, and I don't know how to fucking know that.
Yeah, and here's the other funny thing: we talk about water as a solvent, but terpenes are a hydrocarbon.
Mm-hmm.
So you know,
sure.
The more
VOCs
you guys have, more hydrocarbons you guys have.
VOCs, baby.
All right. Any other of these comments? I know there's a couple good ones we could probably scroll through. Lost my page here. There we go. I like turtles. That's a good one.
I thought it was interesting the people that were claiming that, boy, this is gonna fucking hurt some buttholes. That were claiming that full melt is cleaner than rosin or BHO. And number one, it's just simple. If we're talking about good rosin and good BHO, which is what this conversation is, that's just simply not the truth. But like Jen did say in her comments somewhere here, the more you start taking out, the more you start isolating, very potentially the more, or excuse me, the less overall medicinal it is, the less medicinal properties it has overall. And I don't know if I can argue with that, you know?
Yeah, I think she kind of brought that up on the show, actually, when we had her on, about how fats and lipids and how much cannabinoids and terpenes may be contained within those, and are we losing part of the essence of the plant if we're removing those and all that. Yeah, it's a great question and probably a long discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
I still maintain that fats, plant lipids, let's just settle with that, are which again, terpenes are considered lipids as well, lipids and hydrocarbons. So, but when we're talking about plant fats, plant waxes, I think those are contaminants.
So then obviously I'm hoping you recognize that then smoking a joint is full of contaminants.
Of course, that's why I started processing in the first place, because I felt like I was going to remove 95% of the bad stuff by doing that. Yeah, I mean, I could tell after being out of dabs for like a week and a half and smoking bongs and joints and stuff, man. Like, I can hear it in my lungs, I can feel it in my lungs. Like, there's a difference,
dude. I'll tell you what, though, because I love to try to ride the neutral line anymore. I don't smoke much flower at all. So when I do, sit down, big boy.
Different level, man. This one made me laugh.
Last time I smoked flower.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Can't remember.
This one made me laugh. You smoke it, color does not equal quality. So what they're saying is, by looking at it, you can't tell, but by smoking it, you can. I'd say that smelling it.
Say that again. Say that. I'm too high.
So this person says, how do you tell the difference? You smoke it. Color does not equal quality, and definitely color does not equal quality. I think it may be a representation.
Temperature does,
but I think a lot of people pull early, especially on the rosin side, to give a certain color, and I think that reduces.
Are we talking about the color of the oil after dabbing, or
no,
in the jar?
In the jar.
Okay. Yeah, you've seen Tropsy.
Mm-hmm.
That gets dark.
Yeah,
it gets very dark.
But it's fucking one of the most flavorful. It is the most flavorful and best rosin dab I've ever had.
Dude, it's still one of my favorites in the last 2 years.
I need more.
All right. So yeah, color absolutely does not, but in the majority of the instances, it absolutely does.
I think it can. I don't know, man. I don't even know about a majority anymore.
I know, right? It's hard to say anymore.
This one feels very ignorant to me. So almost all live resin.
Hang on, can we go back real quick to the color and the time of harvest?
Yes.
I mean, I think that obviously has a pretty big effect, and I think that we were running into, and maybe still are, early harvests. Number one, because obviously color, right? You harvest less amber trichomes and you're going to get more blonde rosin, and vice versa. And then you start thinking at it from a commercial standpoint. If you can save a week or two over the course of fucking 5 years, how many more harvests did you get? So the color difference there, again, color doesn't necessarily equal quality, and darker color rosin, if you're getting some of that darker color rosin, man, that can fucking potentially put you in the couch. Whereas that same cultivar, pulled early might make you ride the bike around the fucking block.
100%. And yes, for someone like Frenchie, right? And they obviously, color has nothing to do with it, in his opinion. So
he says take it till the fruit's ripe.
Frenchie went a lot further than I think a lot of people did.
I've been taking mine longer,
personal preference.
I like it. I do it to slow my brain down. I don't need my brain to go any damn faster.
Yeah,
I take it a little longer. It comes out a little darker, but man, it'll smack you in the fucking face.
Yeah, especially if you're smoking it at night for that, go night, and you can even, it's obvious that you can even have multiple or even the same cultivars in your grow room and pull one 2 weeks early and let another one go 2 weeks later, and then you have two different effects in the same
That
grow.
is true. I just prefer having the cultivar provide, at maturity, provide me the effects it is going to provide, rather than trying to manipulate the cultivar to, achieve those, because
I'm a
that could be at a cost of volume or returns and other things.
I'm a 5 to 10% amber harvest. Generally, you're trying to lean to that 5. About the minute I start seeing amber, we're going to harvest.
Yeah. So I do want to read this comment though. Almost all live resin BHO has a taste that is easy to recognize. Live rosin tastes way better, is smoother, and has a multitude of different smells. Smells more like a fresh weed, not like that same smell that all resin has. That tells me this person has never had good BHO, and certainly not a variety of good BHO.
Agreed.
Because I've smelt a lot of mids rosin that to me all tasted and smelled the same, right? Yeah. And so it's like we gotta.
And that's part of why I didn't want to jump in and fucking rip these people a new butthole, is because, and no disrespect, but a lot of these comments are out of ignorance, and that's why I post a lot of these things, so that we can, as well as, I guess, have a little bit of fun, we can educate, So unfortunately, I really do think, like you said, he just hasn't smoked a lot of good BHO, or that variety of BHO, And it's just strange to me that it is kind of, maybe not, I guess, but it seems a little strange to me off the bat, or that if he's had access to good to good rosin, how has he not had good access to good BHO? You'd think maybe not.
But it's also tough to know, does he actually have access to good rosin, or is it just the best rosin he has?
Like we said, mids rosin better than, that's possibility.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that dabbed before me that have come over and smoked mine and been like, wow, like, can I buy it? No, like, personal, sorry. Like, you can come over and I would give you a dab, but you're not taking a jar with you.
Right.
But yeah, that's the hard part, is it's so regional.
It seems to be. There's a couple good processors here in Colorado. There's a bunch in California, and then you got Rackham's, and I can't think of his other name, down south. I think he's in New Mexico, or is he in Arizona? I think he's in New Mexico. Or is he Arizona? I don't fucking remember.
Southwest, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What else you got?
Here's another one. The nose. If the BHO and rosin are made from the same starting material and processed properly, the nose will be incredibly difficult to tell apart. Look at the consistency, but ultimately get to know your source and be able to trust them. King Pine Canna 3.0. I think you hit the nail on the head on actually answering this question.
But then how does the nose tell the difference?
No, he's saying they're saying the nose and then
laugh. Oh, the nose, laugh. If the BHO and rosin are made,
then the nose will be incredibly difficult to tell apart, is what they're saying. And that's kind of what we said at the start. Like, if it's the top shelf of both, it's the same cultivar, same, just different processes. Really, could you tell?
Could you tell 2%?
Shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't be able to.
I think you can taste it, but I don't know that your nose can tell it.
I don't even know. I think that's another, how much did you beat up those particular senses?
Yeah. I would say I've been fooled by rosin often, and I think it's the mids rosin, like we're talking about, that it actually does have a good smell when you open the jar, but when you taste it, it tastes like
I would agree. Or it's harsh and has that. Yeah.
Mrs. Fergoli calls it grandma's cabin. She says it's like a lot of them just taste it's like that musty, weird smell. They just all taste the same. I don't know what it is, but
a lot of people like to. It's funny. I get a kick out of this. A lot of people like to just at the end of the day just say, "Oh, gassy. Oh, it's gassy." It's like, it's not gas. That's ass.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys want, we could kind of dig it through some more. Maybe if I do some, I'll pull them up. But I mean, great discussion, man. It was a very interesting discussion. I think it was. We've talked a lot for years and years. We've talked about on these podcasts how education is one of the most important things when it comes to kind of the important issues like terpenes and fire in, fire out, and your starting material and what to avoid and what to look for and all those kinds of things, right? But it's still very clearly lacking in mass. And this is only one kind of corner of one portion of the market, but they're very important points, especially when it comes in this concentrated form, right? We're talking about the things that the medicine and the things that are important to us, and then talking about concentrating them and trying to extract them and getting the most out of it. We're talking about less than 1% loss on terpenes through water and how we're trying to collect them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We care about this shit.
I think what we need to remember as processors is that when we do podcasts and stuff like this with the community, even the posts like that, these podcasts, we need to remember to look at it from a consumer standpoint, and I have a hard problem doing that at some point. Sometimes too, I have to like almost verbally remind myself that wait, I have a completely different standpoint in processing and viewpoint. I'm looking at it from processing, and you're looking at it from the consumer side. So I feel like you really kind of got to pull yourself back and just remember that it's the consumer. Like I said earlier, we got to remember we're trying to answer this question from the consumer standpoint. When they buy a jar, not when we process it, what the fuck is the difference?
Something else that highlighted though is how easy the community misconstrues a question.
Yes.
It wasn't a difficult question, but it was answered 20 different fucking ways.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys noticed it. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but when I asked the very first time, when I asked, what does hash mean to you? It was answered completely differently than I wanted to ask it, and that's why I think I asked it the second time pretty closely after that. I don't know if you want to bring it up. Yeah. What does hash mean to you? This was introspectively answered by a lot of people. Hash is everything. Hash is love. Hash means artistic. Hash means, there was a lot of that, which wasn't really what I was asking. Yeah, it wasn't what I was asking, but I loved the fucking answers. I loved the conversation. I was like, awesome, go that way. Let's fucking talk. Let's go. Let's talk, But I also asked it a couple posts later. I think I asked it in a more specific way. What is hash?
It's funny how
definition wise.
One little word though changing in the post, and they completely changed the answers of the question.
Big time. And honestly, to get this much interaction, which I want because that I feel it has the best outcome, you have to kind of limit and play with your wording and whatnot and how it's seen and everything. So like you were saying for Growly, good rosin and good BHO, like you could say top shelf rosin or top shelf, but the more fucking words you start adding, the less people start reading, the less they're going to read, the less they're going to respond, the less they're going to stick around. So to get that really quick, they see good rosin, good BHO. They're like, what the fuck is this? Let me read these comments,
I mean, we've got over an hour of YouTube content on it now so far, and that's just from the, not even going through half those comments. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. It just even the first, like I said, the first like 7, 8, 9, 10 comments were nothing to do with the question. It seemed it was like, no, not what the difference is between BHO and rosin. Like, how can you tell the difference between good? It's just, I don't know. I think quantifiers and like that are important because it can lead to a more important discussion, right? And actually defining some things, but. Ooh, took some digging to get there.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Superior, what does your shirt say? Now that we're talking about this, something about an opinion. Without what? Without data. Okay. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. I feel like you wore that intentionally tonight.
I have lots of data shirts.
I bet. I fucking bet. Oh, that's funny.
I mean, I work in tech, right? So
Mhm.
like for the longest time, I worked at an extremely fun company. So I probably have hundreds of just random shirts that say the most random shit.
There was somewhere I was going to go after that, and I don't remember where I was going to go.
Plus, it doesn't hurt that I also make shirts, you know. So
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't want to wear someone else's shit.
Actually, I was we'll talk after the show. Just remind me to talk to you about one of my local screen printers.
The majority of these comments, though, I think can really be boiled down to taste and smell and the unfortunate reality of the access to good products. I mean, I kind of think on both sides of the fence.
It seems like it, man. Because I have a hard time. I mean, Michigan's known for its hash, right? But I personally have a hard time finding good rosin, or at least on the level that I've had with Pedro's. And if I'm going to set a standard, that's it, you know. And I'm having a real hard time finding people that can meet that standard. But I also have a standard on the BHO side, and quite frankly, it's what I make, and I have a hard time finding it there too. We all kind of know that at this point that the BHO market is, you know, was tanked with CRC and overproduction and just bad material and too many corners being cut and all that. But I think, you know, do you think that's happening with rosin? Has it been happening with rosin? I know there's a comment about how you can, you know, oh yeah, well, you know, some stuff doesn't wash in rosin, and so they have to do it in BHO. But with BHO, you can process everything. That's the thing about it. It doesn't matter the strain. It doesn't matter the contaminants either. You can process it with spider lay or spider mite, dicks, and powdery mildew. And then someone came around and was like, well, yeah, but they're doing that with rosin too. Like, you know, who's to say that they're not doing the same thing with solventless? You're actually able to filter that as well, you know. So I don't know. Is that why is the market just saturated with bad rosin too?
Yeah, it is definitely saturated with mids. And the one thing that I want to make clear, it's saturated with mids, and it takes an education to, and sometimes fucking really trying to hunt out to get the good material, you know. But the one thing I also want to make clear to everybody from a consumer standpoint, God, man, variables here too. But if you purchase from a reputable legal source, there's so many fucking stringent tests that we have to pass in order to get this on the shelf to you in the in the manner that we do, i.e., whether it's rosin, there's different standards for rosin than there is for food grade, than there is for this, than there is for this, you know. So when you're getting something that you are going to be inhaling, there are very, very stringent tests that we have to pass before it hits the shelves. So as long as you're buying it from a reputable source, you can generally be pretty confident that you're going to be okay, at least health wise and whatnot.
And that
Whether
could
or not
also
it's
be
good or not is still a
that's true.
Speaking of that, you know, for Girly, do you have any insights into what is it, Michigan doing their government lab to do second testing on people to make sure that the labs are actually valid? Have you
so you're saying like a well, what's the word for it?
What Laura or whatever they're going,
like they're gonna open their own lab so they can validate the I don't know anything about that actually. I think I've heard rumors of that, you know, wanting to happen. I think the Michigan State Police already opened up their own lab as a private facility, and you know, but but no, I'd be curious to see that happen. I'd be curious to see the results of that. But it's also kind of like, well, who's validating their results too, you know?
and that's what
Is
a lot of the labs
thing?
are fighting right now is, you know, if Michigan State sets up their own lab every other lab has to adapt to their processes. They can't do better because they need to. There was some loopholes there with it. It was very confusing, double speaking. I don't know whose side I'm on yet.
Well, it sounds like Lara's realizing that they can't trust the labs and that they want to do it themselves, and maybe they should have done that from the start. But we had some good players in the market at the start. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us because of the way the system has been. So now the Lara and the CRA is probably cleaning up their own mess that they've created. So I don't really feel bad for anybody.
Yeah, right. I was trying to figure out if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I was just kind of
listen.
ambivalent.
I don't.
I was like, I hope it's a good thing.
I'm of the mind that it's never a good thing to put something solely in the hands of the state. I think
Agreed.
Private organizations, businesses always do it better. Well, maybe not always, like every time, but you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, they're doing it better. Typically, the state is doing things way more inefficiently. They do set standards that often lack innovation, and quite frankly, this could
stifle the labs. Is what?
Yeah, it's going to stifle things. Yeah, it will.
Because
I think it's a good thing.
They're going to be able to slower.
For sure, yeah, because the state's not going to put any money into it. Those chromatography machines are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. You know, like, and that's just one
the
method.
amount of money the state has made. That was in the article too. It was fucking insane.
And so now they're what are they instead of making the licensees pay for their own inspections, now the state's covering it. That was like one of the things they're taking on. But yeah, they've made so much money off this. It's insane. The market has just tanked, and all of the good players are not been given a shot, and a lot of them have been forced out, and a lot of these MSOs have come in and just taken over. It sucks. This sucks. Y'all voted for it, though.
I'm still hoping we're going to have an ebb and a flow. We'll get once you get the masses that don't make the millions they thought they were promised, and
a lot of them have pieced out. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of close. There's people, they're not going to want to toe the line for 5 more years and piss away money. And
yeah.
So we're going to see some closures, and hopefully then we can get into a true craft industry.
Yeah. It'll rear its beautiful craft head soon, eventually, hopefully. Sooner than later.
We have been looking at other states and properties and such, and every time we look, the first thing that we look at is what's the cannabis laws. Found a really beautiful property the other day, but I think it was 2 mature plants and 2 immature, so 4 for home grow rights. I'm like, that's not home grow rights. That's what I did when I was 14 on my back porch.
I think we're still 6 and 6 over here in Colorado.
Yeah. So yours is split as well in Colorado?
Yeah.
So yeah, see, ours
12,
is just
12 total. 12
No.
total.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it's a misdemeanor to have 1 million plants in your backyard in Michigan. There is no limit to the amount of plants you can have in Michigan because of that court ruling. It's simply a misdemeanor, I believe. And again, don't quote me. I'm not a lawyer, but that went down, I think, last year or something?
Yeah. Even before that, though, it was like 13 to 23 was a $500 ticket. And then 24 was where they hit. It used to be felony, but now new precedent, apparently.
I guess, yeah. I don't get your med card, then you got at least some leeway.
Right.
You at least have a defense in court, as they say. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently you don't need one. I don't know. We should probably educate people on that too. Look up the article, but yeah, do it yourselves, people.
We're not your Google.
Or your lawyer.
Yeah, I don't do legal shit.
No, we can help you make some great hash though. And that was another thing. Comment on there was trust your hashishin. You're talking about trusting the lab results and stuff of the commercial facilities and everything. We know that those aren't always accurate too. And I mean, ultimately, you just got to trust the people that you're buying it from, whether that's the freaking guy in the corner or the commercial grow, across town or whatever it might be.
I wish I'd have saved it, but on that note, I saw a post on X the other day that was said, if y'all think rosin is cleaner, you should see some of the rosin labs. And
what? Okay, explain.
he was claiming that rosin labs are dirty. And the comments devolved into, again, BHO versus rosin, and his argument was BHO is a lab environment, it's clean, and rosin's made in people's garages.
Well,
who was saying that?
I'm going to find the
started
post
that
here.
way too.
Yeah, it was funny.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not a lie that people are making rosin in their fucking dude. I started out making rosin in my goddamn bathtub.
I bet that my freaking garage air is cleaner than most people's fucking houses.
Sure.
So I'm running all kinds of filtrate, and if you're not moving shit around and blowing your fucking fans when you're processing and picking stuff, there's a lot of, but it made me laugh when he said that, because I've been in a fair number of commercial labs, and not a single one of them would I have classified as dirty. Both sides.
Yeah, same,
both
man.
sides, especially in the legal market. They're just...
and again, it just comes down to trust your processor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of dirty grows. I haven't seen a lot of dirty labs. But maybe that's just because it's easier to keep clean. But I will say I have seen some very disorganized labs. Dude,
organic grows, like walking through an organic grow, fuck, man, it's a farm, dude. It's so fucking dirty. There's spider webs between plants. It's a fucking organic grow. There's everything in there. We allow it to be basically outdoor, just protected from the elements to, basically a certain extent, I guess. But it's basically an outdoor grow. It just...
The first time I spread some organic fertilizer outside, Bree's like, "Holy crap, that smells horrible." I'm like, "Well, because it's shit."
It's
that holy cow from Thrive, Yahweh, whatever I think his company's called, Thrive, right?
Mm-hmm.
That holy cow is bad.
Yeah, some of that organic, the liquids are.
There's people that drink that, by the way.
Oh my gosh. So I make like watermelon extracts, taking the rinds and extract, and that's gross enough with all the molds and everything that you get. But some of those ones that are like milk and lactose bait are just, and then shipping it to the mail and it's like curdled in the bottle.
Oh no, there's a reason why they tell you to shake thoroughly before you use it every time.
Oh, you gotta break those curds up.
It's nasty, bro. I had an ounce of either Thrive or the holy cow to every gallon of water that when I'm watering. And it's fucking horrible. You get on your hands and it kind of stays there.
The first time I used fish shit way back in the day, it was, and spilled some of that. Oh, like for 2 hours, I'm walking around just kind of gagging because it was on my hand and would not wash off.
First box of nutrients I ever used in my first grow was the Hydroponics Go box, and one of those bottles was like veganic or something like that, and it was just like, what am I doing? Why? Indoors in my closet, in my bedroom, this stuff stinks.
The 3 that I've got in the backyard right now are water only. They're probably the most neglected plants I've ever tended to, if you can call it tended to.
Looked at every once in a while.
Yeah, I took fresh soil. I think it was a Build a Soil Light, their light version, and I amended it with some worm castings and some they've got some amendments. So I'm not going to go into the details, but I amended the soil, and I hooked up a drip watering system. So all I've got to do is go out and turn it on, which Did I turn it off? It might still be on.
Uh-oh.
And it seriously might still be on there. And I better set myself an alarm to fucking go do that. But it is I'm genuinely going to do that.
Yeah, dude, if you gotta go right now, just go do it.
I'll wait till Budsy comes back.
Okay.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. If it's been on for fucking 8 hours, what's 9 gonna hurt?
Touché, sir.
Oh shit! Where was I going with that?
Fucking, you lost me. I'm starting to think about overflowing resin and stuff now, man. I've got so much.
The water only. That's where we were at. The overflowing water.
Amending soil,
yeah, dude. It's just it's been water only. As a matter of fact, I didn't even, and I'm fucking paying for it now. I didn't have a chance to put any netting up, put any support up. Usually I put up like cage and stuff to kind of support, and it's fallen all over. So I'm playing the rookie fucking strings and bent fucking coat hangers and whatever I can do to hold the branches up right now as they start to fucking grow heavier and heavier, denser.
You don't got any extra stakes, some bamboo stakes or anything like that?
That's what I'm talking about. You start you start doing everything. You start doing
stakes and the green tape and
stakes, everything,
yo-yos.
Dude. Fucking even the little twist ties are invaluable, dude. Those fucking little twist ties. Don't throw those things away, dude.
That green plant Velcro shit is like double-sided. That stuff's awesome.
Would agree.
Rolls of that shit around.
Let me go check my water.
Yeah, go check that water. He might be overwatering some plants right now.
As long as it's not overfilling a res. That's always the fucking worst.
That's exactly where my mind went, dude. I started getting like a weird sweat across my arms and getting a little nervous thinking about overfilling reses, which I haven't done in a long, long time. But have you ever done that, man? Has it ever like
hundreds of times? I have been
hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, the number of times I've overflowed 5-gallon buckets, or my last reservoir had a float valve and the float valve failed on me, so I can't. I have a floor drain though. So I have photos of rivers going through my freaking grow constantly. I have the raised floor now just for this, so that it'll just run under the flooring for me and go right to the drain. Just yeah, see, Red knows.
Yeah, he's talked about it a few times before, man. I've definitely done that.
I'm set now though. I have higher end float valves that will not fail on me. My RO, we actually have pressure getting fixed at the house. We're going to have actual water pressure, so that helps the RO system quite a bit. Nice, Red. Dude, the number of times I would turn, like I just had a little valve and the RO going into a bucket. Turn the valve on, set a timer, 30 minutes. Just going to go up and do a dab real quick. And then 2 hours later go, fuck, and run down there and it's full and there's water. And you're just pissing water away.
Yeah. Now you got to clean it up. I do. Yep. I've been in situations where like third story reservoirs have overflowed for a good amount of time, and you find water on the first floor. I've blown out drain pipes. Let's call it drain hoses into drain pipes, and they're just spraying everywhere.
Oh, that's another good one. Yeah, I used to take the RO and just put it in and like flip the bucket handle over to hold it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a few times of that sucker coming off and shooting RO everywhere, you learn, get a clamp.
Yep, 100%, dude. You think you can rely on that handle? It ain't holding shit.
Nope. One little that tubing always wants to go back to its fucking spiral that it was shipped in.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think, what are some of those other like very embarrassing grower mistakes that you can make in the garden? I think like for one of mine is like, if my power goes out, everything comes back on except my heaters. And so if I'm in the dead of February or something like that, and we lose power for whatever reason, and I don't check my grow immediately, those heaters aren't coming back on. I have to actually manually turn them back on. So that's a situation, but it's not like, that's not nearly as bad as overflowing reservoirs, in my opinion. It's just like potentially a nighttime issue.
Prior to this last rebuild, I just added a UPS to all my smarts because my Trollmaster, the the 24-volt controller and the Aqua X itself, they boot at different speeds.
Okay.
So the 24-volt controller would boot first, and then the controller would boot, and it couldn't see because they had to boot in the opposite order for them to be seen.
Yeah,
and so all of my valves would vanish. And so I literally just had to go out and unplug and plug back in. All my valves are back. My programming's back. But now I have a UPS on all that shit. So until the generator kicks in, it's got power. The whole grow has power now.
Nice. What was the price of that to add that?
That a UPS?
Yeah.
I just put a small one in the grow to power the controllers themselves. So $100 or something like that. But Generac just came out with, you know what the Tesla Powerwall is, right?
Yeah.
Big battery. It's basically a Generac version of that. So we're going to add that to our system.
Nice. I know Anchor's got one too. They've got like this dual setup or whatever. But the one I saw, it's like going to run it runs like an AC, you know, which is obviously a huge drop, but for like, it'll run it, but like for an hour.
I only need my stuff ran though for 30 seconds until the generator kicks on.
No, 100%. But you know, I'm just trying to think what you would need for a grow room. I mean,
a full grow.
If you've got a backup generator, what would you need to put on that? Just your controllers?
No, I have it. My whole house is on it. So on the generator.
No, I know, but I'm saying for a battery backup, like a UPS or something like that.
Oh yeah. Mainly for me, it would be the controllers more than the controllers. Lights.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about keeping, because I can't miss waterings.
Well, and the lights, if they go off, they're going to come back on with a generator. I was just trying to think like that emergency type situation. Like some, you know, obviously some people have like servers or something they don't, you know, can't allow to go down or something. So even if a generator takes 10 seconds to get your power back up or something, you can't afford those 10 seconds, right? So you have to. Well,
a generator also doesn't handle drops and spikes in voltage, which are far more detrimental than losing the power.
Is that a brownout?
Brownouts and spikes, voltage spikes.
Okay.
So either one of those. And, you know, most people don't have to deal with this, but as a rural person, I deal with this shit all the time. So we have a whole house power conditioner as well. So that maintains a pure sine wave through everything. So you do this normally in server rooms and such, so you don't blow your computers from this shit. I had lost a TV and my last streaming computer and my stream deck. I lost. I mean, I had 5 things fail up here.
A year or two ago, right? It wasn't that long.
Not too long. Not even a year. Yeah.
Wow.
6 to 8 months, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, the power conditioner was nice. If you get brownouts or spikes, it's not good on your grow lights either. You know, LEDs do not like that shit. The drivers do not like that shit.
Okay. What about like the electronic HID ballast, man. Those things take a minute to come back on. You're like, that's really important not to unplug those and plug them back in, right?
Yeah. Those need a cycle time. But a lot of those had the cycle time built in, or your controller had it built in. You remember that? You remember the old HID controllers with your cycle time? So you would actually be able to control the power off, power on, the minimum duration that had to pass between the cycles.
I don't know if I ever had anything that advanced. I just had like the Titan controls, Helios or whatever.
I was gonna say I have not the Titan. It's the autopilot greenhouse master controller or some shit. I still have that around here somewhere.
I know that's the other thing. How many pieces of grow equipment have you never gotten rid of, dude? I'm pretty sure I could triple the size of my grow with just old equipment.
My shed up top, I have 6 trays, either 4x4s, 5x5s, 2x3s, all kinds of trays.
I still got the grow mouse hack light.
Nice.
I'm trying to figure out a time to throw a plant in there and run another little series. Should be fun. I am highly medicated over here, you guys.
Was it caps or what got you?
Probably both. Well, obviously both. But yeah, it's been fun the last 20-30 minutes.
You know, we were talking a couple weeks back, I think I mentioned the biochar, so I finally have my results.
Oh,
That
snap.
was
Look at that.
Right.
so much fun to do.
Yeah.
Just turned all my scrap pieces of 2x4s into charcoal and then just walked over. I had, the boys stomp on it for 20 minutes and break it up and spread it out into the yard. And the whole yard was just black. It was crazy looking. And then we got lucky, and that night it rained.
Nice.
Oh, wow, nice.
And now the grass is and the flowers that are coming up are just, it's incredible how much it's taken to all of that.
There's at least one question in chat, and I'm sure a bunch of other people are wondering. Unfortunately, yes, the water was on. It's a drip system, and they were a little dry anyways, and they're outside and they're already in the ground. They're in a 3x3, but they're already,
Oh, at least you have a place for all the excess runoff.
Yeah, they're going to be okay. I don't even think they're overwatered necessarily, potentially, but I don't think they're overwatered. But yes, the water was on. Good thing we talked about that.
I went out the other day and flipped on the sprinklers outside and came up and proceeded to get stoned and forget about it. It was about 3 hours later and was like, fuck, it's 85 degrees outside and I'm spraying water in the yard, burning the shit out of the new plants. Dumbass. Turned it on at 8 o'clock and it was on till 1, something like that.
Jeez.
Jay Patrick over here, just real quick on your biochar, says that you told pressure treated wood wasn't good for biochar, and correct. I would imagine you didn't use.
No, not pressure treated. And actually, there's 2 types of pressure treated.
Yeah, there's ACQ and CCA.
Yeah, so one is chemical, one is okay to use.
Yeah, one is I don't know. One is copper, chromide, arsenic, and ACQ that's the one I don't remember.
Yeah, one of them is more natural.
Yeah, one of them's meant for ground or for contact with for contact on cement and ground contact. The other is meant for in ground.
Alkaline copper quaternary.
Yeah, see, that was the one I didn't remember. I used to work for a pole barn company, and I didn't remember the treated lumber aspects of it.
It's kind of the same thing with your wood ash. If you're burning wood to get wood ash for your garden, you don't want to use any of that. It's the copper that you don't want to use, right? Is that correct?
I would assume so.
I think that's the one.
That would be that's the CC. The ACQ, if I remember right, is the in ground, the in ground, and the CCA was the ground contact.
Yep. Yeah, these were all just pine 2x4s from the mill. So,
yeah, I figured you didn't use it.
It's all, I mean, most of my pieces were literally cutoffs. They're just, you're building a wall and, oh, look, I got this shit piece. Well, I had a garbage can. I literally just been filling it.
I would assume, and I don't know, but I would assume that there's probably different lumbers. I feel good talking. There's probably different lumbers that are better and or worse for different applications.
It's interesting because I don't know that it matters as long as it's not punky wood. Like that won't turn. You don't think are gone.
You don't think there's a difference between pine and oak?
It's interesting. By the time it's done, they're basically the same chemicals. It's a carbon lattice that you're left with. Yeah. It's just a sponge. It's like the fundamental building block of everything. Gotcha. That's why bone looks identical to wood when it's done. You can't tell the difference.
When done properly, it's just burnt down to the same.
Like people throw full chicken carcasses in. This next batch we're running tomorrow, we did all wood chips.
So the bones for biochar.
Yeah, yep. You throw bones in. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, they throw full chicken carcasses in.
Sure.
You just end up.
I started thinking about throwing like the remains of the processing of the elk that we shoot. There's a lot of remains.
That's a lot of bone. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, it's a lot of bone.
But don't you know? Do you leave it in the field or do you?
Some of it, yeah, some of it, and honestly, I mean, we don't have to get into this conversation, but honestly, it really depends on how you feel, and if it's fucking raining or snowing, and if it's
How
sub-zero,
far you gotta go,
and how far back you are. This last year, I shot mine probably, it was a good 1.5 miles from the road, and then it's not like it's, back in Wisconsin or just where it's just a straight fucking, there's there's a lot of inclines and declines that you have to go through. And we had to make 2 different trips, and man, it was fucking horrible. It was just horrible. But it's part of the experience. It's part. What's that?
Do you know how far you had to pack it out?
Yeah, like I said, I was about 1.5 miles back when I shot.
1.5 miles. Okay,
yeah. So yeah, we ended up taking. You ended up taking the back straps and the inner loins out. You ended up. You take processing equipment out with you, so we have a bone saw, so we can cut off the feet and leave them there. The bottom of the legs, and leave them there. Generally don't take the time to debone the hind quarter, so you generally just take the quarter. Same with the front shoulder, and then really all you're left with from there is some scrap bone meat and some rib meat. If you really want to get crazy, you can start cutting into the ribs and start taking some rib meat as well. But again, how far back are you, and how much can you carry, dude? It was crazy. I was almost, and I've lifted weights. You guys have all seen the fucking thing that I did. I've worked myself to exhaustion before. And it's kind of fun to do, when you're in your living room and whatnot. You go to push-ups and you're like, you just fall on your face. You just literally can't do that last one, right? And this was probably one of the first times, if not the first time, that dude, the last 1/4 mile, I didn't know if I was gonna fucking make it. Like, I was absolutely exhausted. Where my buddy and I, Tommy, we were walking and we just kept reminding each other, just one foot in front of the other, bro. Just one foot, we were just head down and holding on to the backpack, just 1 foot in front of the other, bro. But you can't take 4-wheelers back unless you have handicap.
What about a drone? Could you attach some of that stuff to a drone? Do they make that legal?
I don't know anything about drones, but I don't know how much a drone can carry. But I don't know.
Half a kudu. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight, man. By the time you get done with it, it can be 200, 300, 400, 200-300 pounds probably. By the time you split that between 2, 3, 4 people, if you're lucky.
Sounds like 2 trips with a big $40,000 drone.
The Diesel brothers had that big ass drone that he grabbed the bottom and it picked him up off the ground.
Oh shit!
They've got.
I would imagine they have it.
Yeah, they're using them in a lot of like third world and developing nations. I should say, that are need to transport materials up mountains and stuff like that. They're using drones for transporting them, but I've also seen them in South Africa and other countries used for hunting and transporting the meat back.
See, there's the thing is, drones are illegal for hunting, but is retrieving the meat hunting.
So in Michigan, it's illegal to DNR has made drone use illegal for any hunting purposes in Michigan whatsoever.
I would assume
you go down in Ohio and you can recover the deer with a drone, but not here in Michigan. There's currently a lawsuit here in Michigan against the DNR because of this, because the DNR requires you to make every reasonable attempt to recover that deer after you've shot it.
They do here as well.
So if I have a deer, or if I have a drone that could allow me to recover that carcass, why would I not do that? I'm not using it in the process of hunting, aiding anybody, looking for wildlife, anything like that. I'm looking for the down deer. That's it.
It's another reasonable fucking attempt, right?
Yeah. So they're actually getting sued. It's in the appeals court, I think, right now. They've already had some mediation.
I wouldn't have a problem with somebody recovering meat. The problem is that there's always those people out there that are going to fucking cross that line,
Right. But they're doing that anyway. Now you're just it's like anything. You're not allowing the people with good intentions to use the tools that are already available, and the people that have bad intentions are using those tools and abusing them, you know. So maybe just worry about those people that are already breaking the law, not the people that are trying to do the right thing, you know.
For sure.
But that's the government for you. Here we are. That's why we grow weed.
Yeah, definitely don't go down that road. That's for sure. I've been going down the comments over here, still trying to see if there's anything else worth fucking going over here, and I really think it's just mostly just on education and not having access, and I mean, I think those are probably the two biggest things that's going on here in the comments, besides wrestling with octopuses.
Yeah, that was I don't know how far down that thread I actually got, but
that was a fun one. But yeah, dude, I'm definitely looking forward to going up to Denver here the next probably 2, maybe 3 weeks to pick up that washer and stop and sesh with Terp. I gotta see if there's anybody else I can run into as well. But man, I've already taken a little bit of shit on that. I'm picking up that washer on it being, let's go down that road for a second, on it being what is it, omnidirectional, singular, it only spins in one direction. What are you're not obviously not a washer for Girly, but Budsy, what are your thoughts? Singular direction.
I truly would defer to Low Temp on this. I think that they are onto something with the square washer, and I feel like they've posted it before, the fluid dynamics of their washer, right? So does it make it like, what are you costing yourself, you know, to get this? Does it at least have spin pause?
I do not believe so.
I thought
it may. I don't know, but I don't believe so. You could look that up for sure. It potentially. My only thought is I've seen the reversal of the spinning disc. We have the Osprey, the large one at work up at Eden, and I've seen the change of direction, and man, that's a very violent, abrasive, very violent, very and if
referring back to French,
maybe you can just avoid that.
Frenchie always said it's the vortex. It's not about smacking these things off.
It's
which
water.
Like, to your point, that reversal, even in the small washer, the 5 gallons, you see that slosh.
Oh, dude, it's sometimes I've even bought, and I think most of us hash makers have bought the voltage. What the hell is it? You can increase the speed controller. Thank you. I think most of us have bought that just because, man, that son bitch in the 5 gallon gets very violent.
Yeah, and if it, like, you had to have headspace more than you thought.
Oh,
the first time you washed, you were
spinning. You're like, you're like, oh shit, yep. Oh shit! Oh shit! I should have. Oh shit! I should have plugged those holes up underneath there.
No, I kind of like the mini Osprey better. I feel good about what they have in that.
I'm stoked with it.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I've got that, and then I realized as I was going in, I'm like, it's a 30 gallon washer, and I'm like, wait a second. My reserves before won't hold this. They're going to get me through like 3 washes. I'm going to be done, you know? So I ended up investing in one of their 300 gallon vertical water tanks, as well as one of their pumps.
That's why I went to 175 gallons when the 20 gallon, my old 65 gallon RO reservoir was not big enough when I switched to the 20 from the 5 gallons. So yeah, I mean, a 30 gallon, you're going to go through some water, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're going to reduce the amount of washing you have to do.
I'm so excited for the, Absolutely. But I'm so excited for like the washing, like the cleaning, excuse me, the cleaning of it. I'm just so excited for that.
Dude, ever since I've had stainless, I can't imagine going back to plastic ever.
No, dude, it's gonna be so fucking
barkeeper's friend and you're done. Like, oh,
it was a bite. It was a kick in the ass, but so is any lab. How far do you want to go? How much do you love this?
I said that I'm gonna wait a little bit to upgrade.
Sure.
I just finished the cold wrap on my stainless.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like all chilled. I got all that now. So I want to run with this for a good year, get some data behind it, and then see if, like, hey guys, can I get a jacketed version? That would be really fucking cool.
Just hit up Pele afterwards. Pele will get you one, dude.
Well, I've got the same thing that Pele sells. I just didn't pay his price.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so it's the same idea, which is pumping, glycol all around the outside. It's
you're talking about that kind of. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the zip up fucking silicone whatever wrap.
No, he has the glycol jackets as well. Pele does.
I would imagine he does.
Yep.
I would imagine.
I've been talking to him a little bit lately. He's ready to come back on here too, so we got to get him scheduled again.
All right, cool.
So keep an eye out for that, guys.
He's a fun one.
We could always do some repeats. I mean, Joe Rogan does.
Of course. Yeah, we've had a few people on 2 or 3 times already, especially with that kind of 420 episode. But he was talking about the like hash judging that you're going to be taking part of and stuff. So I figured maybe around then or a little bit before then we could do another show.
Those are fun, man. I did them last year, and we won't get into all the requirements and whatnot. But
you said you killed it.
I went live, and you go live. That's good to hear because I never know how I do. I went live for every sample, and I ended up consuming the entire gram on the 1 hour live stream. I think is what Instagram gives you, right? So I think you can probably even go back in the posts and watch them. They got very interesting because you start ripping. You take the first couple to really kind of to taste it. Get the low temp, get the to play around with it, and then you got a half a gram, 3/4 gram left to fucking drop in the lungs. Yeah, just get it. I'm not gonna leave this sitting here. I'm gonna get it.
Get the full variety of the dab. Yeah. One of the things you guys were just talking about made me think of a question for you guys. So you talked about how much water you use for a run, whether it's a 20 gallon, 30 gallon, 5 gallon, whatever it might be. Do you know, can you quantify how much water you're using per gallon of wash machine? Because one of the things that we pay attention to on the hydrocarbon side of things is our solvent to material ratio. We want to run enough solvent through there that it really kind of collects everything, but not, overdo it. I think there becomes a point of diminishing returns, but you also definitely don't want to underdo it and leave so much behind that you're never going to collect out. I think in the range of 7 to 10 to 1. So 7 to 1 or 10 to 1, somewhere in that range is pretty good on the solvent to material ratio on the hydrocarbon side. What say you guys on the quote unquote solvent of water and I've
never done the ratio. That's a good question.
No, it's always been a visual, but I guess if I would have to say the visual, it's probably goddamn close to that 70 30, like, 70 plant material.
How many grams are we talking? Like, I mean, we can run the numbers real quick.
Well, let's just stick with what you got. So you got a 20 gallon washer.
I was going to say we run at Eden in the Osprey, which is what the fuck's the size of the Osprey again? Is it 120?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I can't remember. We run now. We're running 18,000 grams.
Yeah. What do you run though in the 5 gallons?
I've never weighed it.
I know that's my problem too. Mm-hmm. Like
That's why I was giving you. That's why I was giving you the Eden. Look, what's the
fluffier buds versus?
Yeah, what is the what's the Osprey?
Um,
75 gallon is all. What? All right, 75 gallons. So what is that? 18,000 grams in 75 gallons
and
of
is that
of solvent.
Fresh?
Yes, fresh.
18,000 fresh.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes.
So
yeah, I don't know that my math won't math right now, dude.
Well, one gram of water is 1 milliliter. Yeah, 1 milliliter. So 1,000.
Are we gonna do math live?
You have to convert it. It's 18 liters of what is 75 gallons of water? 3.84 liters.
It's 240 grams of weed per gallon of water.
Say that one more time. 240
grams per gallon of water.
And how many milliliters are in a gallon?
I don't know. Ask Chat GPT.
Well, ask Google. You're on Google.
No, I used fucking calculator. 18,000 divided by 75.
How many grams
I could
of
Google
water in a gallon?
Oh, you got it. All right.
Yeah. Why is this so difficult? I thought Google would just show me this.
I tried to use Copilot, but it broke
Chat,
screen card.
Right here. 3758.
Yeah, 3,785. Someone's dyslexic. So 3,785
Did I say
grams of water. I don't know if they typed it wrong or you said it wrong, but I know dyslexia when I see it. Trust me.
I'll take it.
So one gallon of water is 3,785.4125 grams. And so you got how many gallons? 75, right? 75 gallons.
Yes, sorry.
So that's approximately 284,000 grams of water. And you said 18,000, right?
Correct.
So 18,000.
Sounds more like a 60-40.
Yeah, 63% of it is water.
So potentially better.
Now, it'd be interesting now to do the numbers with dry because
half dry
because do we end up with like a magic ratio here that we never knew we were using?
You guys just never thought of this as a You gotta start thinking of water as a solvent, boys.
right. Well, where the fuck was I gonna go with that? God damn it, I don't know where I was gonna go with that.
The nice thing about me washing at home with a 20 though is how much water I put in is I fill it up to the line, and then how much weed I put in is how much weed I have. So that's how it works. It works out really good.
A lot of people who are washing with larger washers like I'm about to be doing and like we do it up at Eden, we really start to look into and to implement recirculators. So you'll use your wash water in multiple times, and you have the ability to what I've recommended before in different facilities is to wash the first wash, drain, drain, and then recirculate second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, however you want to go. There's times, like I said, when if you have ways to process material, fucking hit everything you can.
New ways to do this, man. First of all, your last comment, superior. Without data, you're just another guy with an opinion. So let's just data on that. But now I'm thinking, what a closed loop, oversized vessel with a somehow C1D1 rated
to collect
mixer.
And reuse.
No, a mixer. We've already done this bi-directional thing where you collect and reuse your solvent, and was a long time ago with the closed loop systems. But what if you had a vessel that filled with you'd obviously have to keep it chilled, and you'd probably have to keep it under vacuum, that was filled with your material and your solvent, a liquid hydrocarbons, and you were able to mix it like you guys do. But it's in a sealed stainless steel vessel, you know, under not pressurized. I'd hopefully be under vacuum with liquid
impeller mixer.
Yeah, I mean, can you do that in that type of environment? Because that seems like a way to get maybe even more out of it, but it also seems like maybe now we're breaking things, and
I'm sure
maybe a little bit too much agitation there.
Well, because there's no agitation in the chemical process.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So there's reading and being able to adjust your agitation level, you know, when you're washing is a large
it's got to be huge. It's got to
large part.
And think about how much of it is done manually, right? Like your comment about the guy in the corner with the paddle, right? You know,
it's honestly almost easier to gauge your violence on the water. You know,
I like the tactile feel of it. It's
sure.
I would not do it commercially. You know, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
You know, fucking no way. But for me, doing it 2 times for each harvest, like it's no big deal. And I get the feel for, like, because the amount of material in the water determines also how hard can you go. If you have more water to material, you can go a little, it's easier to go. There's less resistance in the water, and you may have to push a little harder if you've got a bigger harvest. It's variables.
But that also can all be done digitally, mechanically through, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's
100%.
like, yes, muscle memory is something. There's something there, right? And experience and all those things that tell you what to do and not to do, especially in the moment, that most people aren't going to be able to do. But there's also a way to replicate that through machines, you know, and with data.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but do we want to start doing that, AI fucker?
Well, you can do the resistance sensors, and you could know exactly how much pressure is on the paddle and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot you could do with that.
I've been having a lot of fun with AI the last couple of months.
I bet you have.
I have 2. I got the new Pixel 9. It's all AI now. Like, it's pretty wild stuff.
Really?
I mean,
about it real quick.
The AI magic editor is a lot of fun. So the boy was jumping on his trampoline. The first photo I took a photo. It automatically picked him at the peak of his jump, and then used his face from like a half a second before, where he was actually looking and smiling, and put those 2 pieces together. Then I was able to click it and tell Gemini, okay, now make him parachuting. And so now my kid's holding onto a parachute and jumping out of an airplane. And it was just fun, you know. But the real useful stuff came in. Excuse me. I had to call for Jeep service. You know, you get the annoying menus. I don't have to listen to the menus anymore. It pops them up, and I click them on screen.
Android's been doing that for a while.
My other Android, my Samsung.
Sorry, maybe I should say Pixel, because this is the 7.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't believe my Android does.
Yeah, maybe
it's a Pixel thing.
My Galaxy did not do that.
Yeah, that's what I was Samsung. Yeah.
Yep. But then the other day, I had a conversation with my business partner, and right at the beginning of it, it says, "Do you want Gemini to summarize this conversation?" So I told him, I was like, "Yeah, let's see what happens." So we talked for an hour and a half, and at the end, it told me. It told me that I had to send 2 different emails. I'd committed to sending 2 different emails, and it scheduled an appointment for us to talk, because we said we were going to talk in 2 days. You know, just for business stuff, it was kind of nice. When you have a long conversation,
dude, that's just it. The capabilities of business. I mean, dude, you could work yourself out of a job with AI right now. I introduced it to one of my buddies that's in like financial analysis at the macro level, and he's like, "This is changing everything." You know what I mean? It's like it just, once you understand how to use it, you know, it's like asking the right questions, right? And then, like, you know, manipulating those prompts and just doing things that, I mean, dude, it's a 4-hour discussion.
Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel, right? So about a year ago, I used ChatGPT, fed all the information from the grow into ChatGPT in just CSV format, and told it to write me a script.
Weather on the 8s.
as if it was a producer. And I told it what screens it had available. Like it automatically, it built a freaking plan for switch to this screen. Here's the words to say. Switch to this. It's freaking wild.
Dude, business plans that I was like pro formas that I was developing over the course of large workbooks in Excel years ago are almost instantaneous now. You know what I mean? It's you have to double check everything, but it's insane. Guys, that's gonna be it for this week. Next week, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about AI and how it can help in your grow, or we'll just be running into the hills, hiding from AI as it chases us down and tells us how to grow. But either way, make sure you find us after the show on Spotify and everywhere you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys next Friday. Cheers.